Parents, so homeschooling your child is something that is exceptional, something that you can do, especially for teens, if they aren't doing well in school or if you're concerned about what school is teaching your child. So if you think that it's not possible because you're a working parent and your teen would be home doing work, and you think of it in the conventional way of what they had over the time of COVID, think no more, because in this video, I'm going to show you how your struggling child can go from, just trying to survive to thriving in school. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. We know that when we think of, virtual learning, homeschooling, and online schools, you think of the kids sitting in front of a computer screen all day long, just listening to someone go blah, 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 right? However, did you ever think about the fact that if homeschooling is done correct and right for your child and their learning style, they can actually thrive in areas where they struggle at the moment? And so if you're a parent who does have concern about, your child's school situation, maybe bullying, maybe they all have ADHD and aren't able to concentrate, maybe they don't fit in that box or mold that schools today have are still making everybody fit into, then maybe it's time to think of an alternative, because if not, are you willing to live with the consequences that your child could actually do great things in this world, but they're being stifled by a system that doesn't work for their style or their personality, right? So let's go with if your child is just really curious. They want to learn more, they want to do more, they want to explore everything. In school, that's not necessarily, pushed to help them, to challenge them. There is that status quo. Don't go too high, don't go too low. You kind of fit right in the middle. Maybe the classes that they would like to take aren't being offered. So what a homeschooling or independent schooling program could do for your child is ultimately give them the ability to study what they want, when they want, and have the experiences that regular school may not give them. Allow them to investigate and learn and create a whole new idea of learning and curriculum that they would be interested in and would ultimately pique their curiosity and allow them to go and even further than they thought would be possible, because they're not being held back by specific subjects and specific topics that regular school is teaching them. That's number one. So imagine that internally motivated child and how much more they could do and learn in a day than what they're being told that they have to do in school. Now let's take the other side. Let's take that child who maybe is ADHD or maybe has sensory issues, and so the stimulation holds them back. I knew quite a few young people during the time when they were doing homeschooling because of COVID that actually were failing before and then started thriving in school because they didn't have all of that stimulation to distract them, and they were able to focus on their work more than when they were in school. And so, yes, that does happen. And now imagine coupling that, here they are now focused and having the ability to learn and do more things that are of their interest, their learning style, and that they're able to collaborate with other young people. A lot of times parents think that homeschooling, they aren't going to be able to socially interact. They aren't going to have other kids to be able to work with. And that's not true. Depending on the program, your child could ultimately be working in teams with kids from other places around the world. That is also an extreme plus. Now, you say your child will be home all day. You won't know what they're doing. This may not necessarily be for every young person, right? And so that is what you need to know, and ask your child if homeschooling would be right for them. Some young people will stay home and watch TV all day. Not what it is meant to do. The idea of doing a homeschool program or an independent schooling program is so that your child could then explore, investigate, and do and learn in the way that they want to, what is interesting to them, and not necessarily just what we're being told that they need to do in school. And on the other hand, too, is that it gives them the ability to do alternative assessments other than just the A, B, C, D multiple choice model, right? Project-based learning, theory learning, case study learning, right? And so let me give you an example. One of my students, she is English is her second language. And so she wasn't really a good writer. She didn't like to write a lot. Or when she did write, she liked to write her own personal stories, right? She didn't like to write history essays or anything like that. So by going through the program that I have online, I said, okay, I recognize that it is always a battle to get her to write an essay. But when I want her to write a story, she's brilliant. So I said, okay, let's just see what will happen. How can I think outside the box on this one? So we were studying, she was doing World War I. And so she had to investigate the causes of the beginning of World War I. And so one of the catalysts was when Princip shot Archduke Francis Ferdinand. And so her assignment was to investigate these young people. Her assignment was to investigate the history behind why Princip decided that he was going to do this, and then be a reporter from that time period and ask questions based on his and answer them based on his philosophies. So the answers to the questions would go with what he did in that time period and the history around what was happening then, right? And she loved doing animation, so I let her do it. She did the voiceover, but I let her do it as one was she was doing the questions, the one character, and the other character was Princip, and he was answering the questions. And it was beautiful. And in that moment, I thought to myself, wow.
Hello! Hello people, here's Elena, and today we're going to learn about who was Gabrielo Princip. Now, let's have a little introduction about him. Would we? Gabrielo Princip is the name of the Serbian nationalist who would split the history of the 20th century in two, being the indirect manager of the beginning of the First World War after he assassinated the crown prince of the Austrian crown, Ferdinand, and his wife Sophia, pregnant of 4 months. In most of the world, he's known as a terrorist, but in Serbia, he's a national hero. Hello, Mr. Princip. We will start our interview now. So, the first question is, what led you to kill Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie?
I am a Yugoslav colonist. I was aiming for the unification of all Yugoslavs, and I did not care what foreign state, but I knew we must free from Austria. I was the son of peasants, and I knew what was happening in the village. That is why I wanted to take revenge and free from Austria.
Do you regret murdering Francisco Fernando and his wife Sofia?
I regret nothing from what I did.
Next question. Why did you join the Young Boys now and not continue your studies?
That's because at that time I was just into liberating my home.
So you just thought about the liberation of your home and not your studies. Okay. So, would you change any of your past actions?
I wish I just was faster at the time
Wait, no!
myself.
We're back after that person broke a window. So the last question is, how do you think your parents would have reacted to your actions?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think of what other people think about, but I do.
Well, people, that was all for today's video. See you soon!
How much more did she learn by doing that type of assessment? Like, she had to take information, she had to then organize it to understand the thought process and theory of the guy that shot Archduke Francis Ferdinand. And then, because she loves doing animation, she got to then do interview skills in the animation part and preparing the questions and the answers as if she was performing an interview, but through cartoon characters, right? So when we think of the skills that our young people need for the future, we need to question, are they getting that every day? And if they aren't, what do we or you as parents need to do to ensure that they get those skills? Because studying, memorizing, test taking, that is not what is going to prepare them for the real world. Knowledge is important, yes, but where can they apply that knowledge? What can they do with it? What real world skills can they be learning while they're receiving that knowledge, right? So while it's important to learn about World War I, right, and the causes of war in general around the world and, history and those types of events, what can we do other than a multiple choice test or memorizing facts that they don't need, because now you can find out any information at your fingertip? What do young people need in those skills in order to function and be successful in the real world and in everyday life? So when you can have young people learning the content that is required of them to learn, what alternative assessments and methods and project-based learning can we do so that we're not only having them know facts or whatever it is that they need to memorize, but that they're also learning how to apply it through critical thinking and problem solving and communication. It's so important. And that's why sometimes for many young people and adults, doing that independent schooling program can be so helpful because it ultimately allows young people in these certain programs to get different skills that they're not receiving in everyday school. And so if you would like to learn more about it, please comment, ask questions below, and I'm happy to help you out with that. But I hope this helped you understand that if you have a child who's interested in learning, someone who's intrinsically motivated, someone who is, would be able to, whether you're home or at work, to take their studies and do their work and learn on their own time, in their own place, and would thrive doing it, then why not give them that opportunity to create a learning environment, a world for them that makes them go beyond the traditional system that exists today. So, with that in mind, I hope it helped for those of you that have been or haven't been considering it, give you a little food for thought. Have a good day. If you're a parent looking for an alternative to traditional education, or if your child is struggling in school and you're being told they just don't have what it takes, then look no further. Maggio Multicultural Academy is a virtual school, and we prepare our students with the skills they need by basing our model on entrepreneurship, as well as providing students with specialized knowledge and applying it to the world they live in. This will then allow our students to either get employment immediately upon graduation, have the ability to work on a startup business idea, or go to college or university. Click the link in the description below to schedule a call and learn more.